Today's episode of the Star Local Media High School Sports Podcast is brought to you by Texan Senior Residential Care Homes, ATD Painting, and Performance Food Group. Texan Senior Residential Care Homes, senior care at its best with a family atmosphere. Obviously, if all seniors had the option, they would be living at home, but sometimes that isn't always possible. Well, guess what? That is where Texan Senior Residential Care Homes comes into the picture. Texan specializes in making its facilities as close to a home living experience as possible. I'm talking full living room, kitchen, dining room, cable TV, music, games, fireplace, you name it. Texan Senior Residential Care Homes has it. They've even got home-cooked meals by experts. It's an extra throw-in. Not only that, there are no move-in fees, no visitation restrictions, so your loved ones are free to stop by and visit anytime they please. Texan Senior Residential Care Homes are located at I-635 in Marsh Lane in Dallas, right near Carrollton. For more info, you can call 469-400-7650. Texan Senior Residential Care Homes. And now, let's podcast.
Welcome to another episode of the Star Local Media High School Sports Podcast. My name is Matt Welch. I'm the sports editor at Star Local Media, and I am being joined by Brian Murphy and Taylor Ragland. And gentlemen, let's talk Week 7 of high school football season. As is tradition at this juncture of the week, we're going to talk a bit about our reader-voted game of the week, and then preview some of the other marquee matchups happening within our coverage area. Big thanks to everybody who voted in this week's Game of the Week poll. Fortunately, this one was not even close. We just went through and tallied up the percentages. 86% of the vote went the way of one game, and it is the headline act, probably for the remainder of the regular season in District 9-6A. Yep. Friday, 7 p.m. out at Eagle Stadium. Plano East visiting Allen. Plano East becoming quite a player on the Game of the Week vote. This is the third time already this season that East has been recognized as Game of the Week.
We're gonna have to cut them off from Game of the Week options from here on out.
We get it. You guys are passionate, and we love the support. Nevertheless, so yeah, I mean, a game that, all things considered, I mean, Taylor, we talked about this last week. Like, you know what? Whatever was voted Game of the Week, we'll talk about it, and we'll preview it and whatnot. But obviously, given the proximity of this game to our coverage area, yeah, I'm pretty excited that this game got named Game of the Week because I hope it's a good one. Yep. You have, both teams are coming in undefeated, 5-0, 2-0 in district play. They're fresh off the bye week, so you get that added element as far as getting an extra week to prepare, making sure everybody gets healed up.
An extra week of hype cycle.
Yep. And the hype cycle was it pretty much began the second that that Plano East beat Prosper.
Yep.
As far as laying the groundwork for this is it's Allen versus Plano ISD, so the checkered history of PISD versus Allen over the last near decade and a half. Allen is riding a 54-game winning streak against Plano ISD dating all the way back to 2005. However, during that stretch, this is the latest into the season that Allen and a PISD team are meeting, and both are undefeated.
Yeah.
You've had instances where Allen has played a PISD team that's been unbeaten a bit later. In 2008, you had, when they played Plano, they were 7-0. Allen had one loss at the time to Euless Trinity, and that game, unfortunately, did not live up to the hype. Allen won that game 56-23 and would later on win their first ever state championship. Time will tell if Friday is any different. Taylor, you're going to be at this game. Congratulations, by the way.
I know, you gave me this one. I was excited. I fully expected to roll in one day and have you make the executive decision and put me somewhere else. But yes, I will be out at Eagle Stadium for this one. I'm pretty stoked about it.
I don't want to take anything away from your shining moment here. It's a big game, but I don't think it's going to be nowhere near as close as it's pinned out to be. Granted, I don't cover these two teams.
Previous history is going to tell you exactly that.
Well, previous history and, any point, I know there's not, quote-unquote point spreads in high school football, but any prediction you see is at least, I think my preview, I have Allen by 14. I've seen lines of, 20 and a half points for Allen. So it's Allen's closest 9-6A test, but it's still not predicted to be,
How shocked would y'all be if Allen beats him by 30 points?
Not at all.
Not shocked.
Yeah, I wouldn't either.
No.
There's no margin of victory that Allen can beat any team by that's surprising anymore.
Especially when I think a lot, of the factor in this game is, you look at 2 years ago, East lost Allen by 7 points.
Oh, yeah.
And that was an East team that was very good as well. But maybe an added element of not surprised, but not quite as much, hype surrounding that team. But this year, it's 5-0. East is going into Allen's house. Allen knows exactly how good East is, and Allen's going to be up for this game as well to kind of, play not the spoiler, but play the role of, you guys think you're good, but let's see you come in here and try to even compete.
That 2016 game was kind of a victim of timing, I think, just because of where it happened in the season. If that game happened midway through, I think that the build-up to that one would have been a bit different, because that East team this was the team that had Anthony Hines, Miklos Small. It was a very talented team, as talented an East team as there's been in recent years.
Better than this one now?
TBD.
I think this East team is the one thing.
The offense, I think, is a bit more firepower.
The one thing that I did say too is this East team is very complete. They're a very complete football team. I don't know if that translates to complete enough or good enough to beat Allen at home for the first time since that stadium even opened. But they're certainly, an all-around, very well-coached, complete football team.
Yeah, but that 2016 team already had a loss to Marcus on its ledger from earlier in the season, and East was kind of billed as maybe the second, third best team in that district coming in. So if you get that matchup in week 6 or week 5 or week 6, versus week 10, I think, that 2016. The build is probably a little bit different. But it feels like right now, though, it does feel like these are the two best teams in 9-6A, and they've shown as much on the field. The beauty of this matchup is that both teams have pretty much been able to dictate just about every aspect of their season. They've been in control start to finish, with the exception of that first quarter and a half out in Saxe, between Plano East and Saxe, a game that was, impacted by weather. So that has to be factored in. But nonetheless, neither of these teams have really had to break much of a sweat in the fourth quarter. They've won all their games by double digits, and something's got to give. And that's the beauty of much like when we were previewing Plano East.Prosper a couple weeks ago for the Game of the Week podcast. Somebody's going to be taken out of their comfort zone for the very first time all season, and the beauty of it is just simply seeing just how they react. And I think that just as important, though, if I'm going to speak from Plano East vantage point, is the mental equation. And Joey McCullough, alluded as much to you when you talked to him earlier this week. It's not just playing Allen is not just gearing up for a football team. There's you're not just gearing up for a team that is just chock full of D1 athletes and as much depth and size as any team that you'll see, but when you're playing on the road, you're having to venture into a stadium that is befitting of a Division I university, and flanked by a band that is the size of a Class 3A high school. There are so many elements that go into this game. You're not just preparing for a football team, you're preparing for just an experience that is unlike anything else that you can really replicate in high school football. And we don't know if Plano East can handle that. They're saying all the right things, and they have no reason to not feel like they can handle it, because, like I said, they've been able to dictate every aspect of their season up to this point. You won't really know until you get there Friday night. To their credit, though, they do have one of the great motivators in high school football in head coach Joey McCullough. But there's I do think there is something to be said for teams that just, you walk into that stadium and you see all that encompasses it, and by the time kickoff comes around, you're already just
you're already beat.
How do I process all this?
Yep, and that was the one thing that he literally, head coach Joe McCullough, I'm talking about, literally said that they look around 9-6A and look at other teams, and like you said, they roll in there and they're already done before they even take the field, before warm-ups even happen. You're just already mentally done, and that's the one thing that East wants to avoid. One of the major talking points for McCullough heading into this one is just kind of the lack of pressure on East, and I'm not sure that that's completely accurate. I think there is some pressure not to lose by 30, like you alluded to, Brian. I think the pressure exists in being competitive, not necessarily going in and beating Allen, though I think there is a slim chance that happens. I wouldn't be shocked either if Plano East pulls off the upset, but I think the pressure for East is to be competitive and not be embarrassed and get run off the field. But McCullough's right in that Allen faces more pressure. Allen is expected to win every game that it runs out for. Allen is expected to take care of East. Allen has all the pressure of, we never lose at home. And when you're Allen, maybe that pressure isn't that big of a deal because you go through it week in and week out.
Yeah, I don't think Allen feels an ounce of pressure.
No, but
this is just a game, just another game for them.
But there's something to be said, I think, for East's attitude of being loose, and literally I've heard the words "let it fly," a dozen times talking to McCullough about this game, because that's what they do. They're going to throw vertical, they're going to let it fly, they're going to let their offense run, and they're going to see what happens. There's no pressure to change who they are. They said, we're going to bring what we are, we're going to let it fly, we're going to be free, and see what happens.
And that's a good way to kind of segue into, I think, what is, if we're just looking at specific matchups to take note of heading into this one, I'm fascinated to see how Allen's secondary holds up against the Plano East wide receivers.
Yep.
Statistically, the numbers are terrific this year for the Allen defense. They've only allowed an average of 181 yards per game, 96 through the year, 85 on the ground. Scoring-wise, 9.6 points allowed. I mean, just top.
And only 2 touchdowns from the starting defense, right?
And one of them was a symptom of a turnover late, deep in their territory early on against McKinney. Otherwise, the only team that has actually put together a sustained drive against the starting defense was Plano early in the second quarter of that game in their district opener. I'm fascinated to see, though, what the Allen secondary does against East wide receivers, because heading into the season, that was kind of the big question mark for Plano East, was they graduated their entire secondary, lots of Division I talent, that is no longer there. There's still talent there, sure, Mo Perkins, Devin Butler to name 2, but they're unproven as far as facing a team that is willing to throw the ball, because I just mentioned those numbers. You got to factor in, though, you've only allowed, 96 passing yards per game. You got to factor in who they've played.
Yeah.
They've played Mesquite, Horn, Utah East, Capel, Plano, and McKinney. All of them are run-based teams.
Yep.
In that Capel game, they only played a half.
Yeah.
They didn't play a full game.
Yeah.
I think the thing for me is, you look at how the Allen secondary is going to rebound from the big play. Because when you play Plano East, you're going to give up at least one. Like Josh Allison or Braylon Henderson or Jalen Anderson or Joseph Carter or whoever, somebody's going to get open downfield. Yeah. Mallory's going to find them, and they're going to have a 75-yard touchdown through the air. Like, it happens every game. But the difference, I think, and maybe what pushes Allen over the edge, despite, other than just being deep and being more talented than any other team, arguably in the state, is how that secondary kind of says, you know what, fine. Those guys are super talented. There's 4 of them out there that they can line up that are capable of beating people. They got us once. We're not going to let it happen again, or we're not going to let it happen over and over and over, because that's how East has been able to bury people. It's been 75-yard touchdown pass, get a defensive stop, 50-yard touchdown pass. All of a sudden you're up by 14 and you're scrambling a little bit. And every time Brandon Mallory gets the ball back, you're worried about that happening again and digging a deeper and deeper hole.
The thing about those plays, though, those 75-yard plays, is that they typically take quite a bit of time to develop. So that's where I think, coverage is one thing, but I think the one aspect that is best tailored to throw off the timing of the East offensive machine is the Allen defensive line.
Yep.
And that's where, guys like Jayden Jernigan, Seth Mason, Emmanuel Nikori, that's where their role is going to be it's paramount, because I think that's kind of the heart of the Allen defensive juggernaut. It's the unit that, they rotate up front more so than just about any team in the state, and that's what keeps that pressure so constant. So I think that if they are able to generate pressure on Brandon Mallory, that's the aspect that's going to slow down Plano East. Not so much just shut down the coverage and whatnot, because if Mallory just has all day to sit back and let these plays develop, then you know what? Eventually receivers are going to get open,
Well, and he's going to make, that's kind of the aspect of Brandon Mallory that's been maybe the most impressive this year, is if he has that time, he very, very rarely makes the wrong decision. Like, if you give him time, regardless of how open somebody is or what the receivers are doing, he's going to scan the field and he's going to make the correct choice. He runs that offense like a well-oiled machine when he has the time to, and when they're not being disrupted. So you're right. It'll be interesting to see, probably for the first time all season, him be hurried and disrupted at a level that he isn't quite used to on his way to throwing for almost 1,500 yards already through 5 games.
And at the same time, just how much of a difference is this going to be for the Plano East defense, having to go up against what is hands down the most balanced and explosive offense that they've seen up to this point. You saw them against Prosper. Prosper is not Allen from from just a sheer productivity standpoint, through the air, through the ground, on the ground. But what was how do you feel like they handled the Prosper run game, so to speak? Because that's Allen is still at the heart of it. Their run game is the area that is most likely to really hemorrhage an opponent.
Well, I think that Plano East handled the Prosper run game very well. I think that was a big key for them. That was what I talked about all week leading up to that game. And they held Wayne Anderson. He had one big run at the start of the second half. I think that was, 30 yards or something for a touchdown. That was kind of his biggest run all night. I'm not sure he eclipsed. I think he might have eclipsed 100 yards still, but even that with him is not the benchmark for a guy like Wayne Anderson. He wants to rack up 150 on 25 carries or something to that effect. But it'll be a different sort of test, especially because I think at the beginning of that game against Prosper was suffering from a lot of self-inflicted wounds for sure. In the first half, they went backward on at least their first 2 drives, maybe 3, with penalties. At one point, I looked up and looked at my play log, and they had like 5 false starts, and it was still like somewhere in the middle of the second quarter. Like they were really struggling to get things going on their own end, which it goes back to that Plano East offense. You have a couple drives where you sputter yourself and have some penalties and turn the ball back over, and then Brandon Mallory, all of a sudden you look up and you're down 21-0, and that's enough to that halftime lead in that game was, I don't remember exactly, 26-7 or something like that, something to that effect. And Plano East, I don't even think scored in the second half because they didn't have to, because they had already essentially buried Prosper in the first half with putting them in that big hole, and then their defense just kind of took over from there. So it'll be interesting to see if East's run defense is for real, because this is, like you said, going to be their biggest test. It's something they've keyed on all season though, and something they've done well. I think their defense is averaging about 120 yards run and pass against. It's pretty much dead even, 240 yards or so a game, and pretty much a dead split. So I think if they can step up against Allen and hold that Allen running game to something even resembling manageable, that's a pretty big victory for the East front for sure.
Because the thing about Allen is they don't have to beat you any one specific way.
Nope.
One of the hallmarks and just from Coach Gamble and just how this team approaches it is it's the old cliche of they take what the defense gives them. And he lauded Plano East for the same thing as far as just what makes their passing game work. So with Allen, it doesn't have to be this just because they have arguably the top receiver in the state in Theo Weiss, it's not just going to be a heavy diet of they're not going to just force the ball to him if Plano East is rolling over its coverage in his direction. They have enough other options around there to beat you. I mean, Grant Tisdale is as efficient a passer as you'll find in the Metroplex. He's completing 72% of his passes on the season, just shy of 850 yards, 13 touchdowns, 1 interception. The run game can hit you all over. I mean, it's Grant Tisdale just as big a threat, on the ground. It's one thing. I mean, if Plano East isn't spying Grant Tisdale on 3rd down, then they're doing it all wrong, because Grant Tisdale will pick up a 3rd and long on you in a heartbeat if he has the space. Selden Manning has acclimated just fine to being the lead running back in his first full-fledged season of varsity action. He's averaging just over 10.5 yards per carry.
Wow.
And then they've got another. They lost their it was their other big running back, Andrew Henry. They lost him in week 1 of the season. But since then, Grant Robinson has been a name, a sophomore who has really kind of stepped up in his absence, a physical, tough runner who's averaging 8.5 yards per carry.
There's just so many horses in the stable over there. There's just they never seem to run out of guys.
Students to pick
there's
from.
Just so many horses to run out there that you can't. Losing one guy is never going to kill them ever.
Yeah, I mean, it's as far as receiving targets go, it's not just Theo Weiss, who again is best receiver in this district, arguably the best receiver in the state. He'll win a jump ball against any defensive back in the district. Fascinated to see. I'm guessing Zach Nowachik will probably draw the bulk of the time on Theo Weiss. But if Weiss isn't there, then they've got Bryson Green, a sophomore, who's had a spectacular season for them. He's got 5 touchdown catches already. Elijah Fisher seldom used a tight end. That's right. Allen is one of the teams that'll make use of a tight end, number 95, so not your customary tight end number.
It's a defensive lineman.
But when he catches it, he makes it count. He's only caught 4 balls, but for 82 yards, so over 20 yards a catch. Jawan Mason, Darian Sherfield, the options are widespread. They can hit Raylan Sharp on a shovel pass. Raylan Sharp, who's got just track level speed. The weapons are pretty abundant for Allen. So,
which it's the same way with East. You alluded to Gamble kind of saying as much. East does the same thing as Allen as far as if you're going to just spread out and cover all our receiving threats, then we're going to hand it off to Trey Jones Scott and take our 4 or 5 yards and do it all over again the next play. So, which another interesting point, Jones Scott, McCullough said is good to go against Prosper, had a little shoulder sprain, said he's fine, but definitely something to watch because he's very key, very athletic. McCullough, every time I talk to him about him, says, probably the most underrated athlete in the district and just a pretty all-around guy that does a lot for them, so interesting to watch there. But like you said, it's going to be somebody being uncomfortable, especially on offense, because both these teams are so used to
being in command.
Being in command, running the ball, spreading it out, throwing the ball, and kind of doing what they want and imposing their will, and somebody's not going to be allowed to do that. So
what is the Plano East path to victory in your eyes?
I think we've talked about this. When you look at Allen's losses, which are few and far between, it's because they get down early. Yep. I think that East's path to victory is to go in there, kind of punch Allen in the mouth early, with 14 points, 21 points, and then hold Allen somehow off the board, and try to look at maybe a halftime lead is certainly a huge thing, because like we talked about, Allen almost always wins the second half. They just have too many guys, too much depth, too much ability to rotate guys in and out. For teams to hang with them conditioning wise, and McCullough admitted as much. He's like, we've been conditioning harder, than and trying to combat that depth by being in shape and keeping the game close enough to keep Allen to their 1s and 2s and not their 3s and 4s. But still, Allen will likely win the second half, so East has to get out to a big lead and try to force Allen to climb out of a hole, because if you let Allen get on top, then that's when things start to spiral a little bit.
There's just a reference point, those previous 2 Allen losses, the only ones that they've suffered since October 2012, they were down at the half against the Woodlands 20-3, and they were down against Westlake 16-0. Wow. So there is a very similar manuscript for if there is a way to slay the Allen juggernaut.
But those are deep in the playoffs.
Those are state semifinal games.
Yep.
As far as like the route to victory for Allen, I mean, it's I don't think you have to you don't have to bend the logic as much for it to make sense for Allen, because Allen is Allen. Like I said, they're going to take what the defense gives them, and they can be methodical. They can hit you with big plays. I think that Plano East is going to come into this game just jacked to the gills with confidence. They've had 2 weeks to sleep on this one, and I think they're fired up. This is, I think, for them a chance to make a statement to the rest of Texas. So if you're Allen, I mean, I think the first quarter is going to be so fascinating to see just how this game, who is able to, I guess, draw first blood, and how momentum is set for that early on. Just because, like, if you're Allen, if you're Plano East and just you have been able to do things as you please up to this point, if Allen comes out and if Allen gets forces them to a 3 and out or whatever, and that's another thing. Like, what makes some of the statistics that you see for a lot of Allen's players might not look as eye popping, because A, they often don't play all 4 quarters, and B, they work with a lot of short fields, because they will, the defense will have you pinned back. You'll start from the 25. You go 3 and out. You move 2-3 yards. You punt the ball, and Allen sets up shop right in your midfield. And then they march right down and score, and that process just rinses and repeats itself. So I think if Plano East is on the, if things go poorly for Plano East early on, you wonder just how that's going to affect them from a confidence standpoint. So I think that the onus is kind of on Allen then to make East feel as uncomfortable as possible.
Yep.
And we shall see. As far as
final score.
Final score, let's see.
That's what I've been waiting for.
Well, what do you think?
I think Allen wins by 3 or 4 touchdowns. Honestly,
I took in my preview, like I said, I took 14, and that's largely a vote of confidence for what I think, like I said, is a good, complete East team. I think it could be a bigger margin victory than that if Allen comes out and plays, perfectly and like they usually do. But for the purposes of that, I mean, let's go 35-21 or potentially 42-28, something like that. I think it's going to be higher scoring than the Allen defense is used to, but I went with Allen just based on, like I said, they've never lost at the New Eagle Stadium ever, so it's a tough mountain to climb, but my margin of victory only being 14, which sounds kind of crazy, but with a team like Allen, you can say only 14 is certainly my nod to East's ability and potential for, however slim it might be, potential for them to punch Allen in the mouth Friday. So,
we mentioned that 2016 game, a game that was decided by 7 points, 38-31. With beyond that, I mean, most recent matchups between these two teams, at least during the Joey McCullough era, I mean, Allen's won all of them, but I mean, they haven't been just complete washouts.
No.
Most of them were decided in the range of 20 to 24 points and whatnot. So I'll kind of split the difference here. I've got Allen by, let's say, around 20 or so. I think this is a game that can be competitive for a half, maybe 2.5 quarters. But I think that the depth that Allen has, plus we haven't even mentioned this up to this point. I mean, Plano East has got to get its penalties in check.
Yeah,
averaging double-digit penalties on the season. Even in their big win against Prosper, they committed 14.
Wow.
Yep. I mean, if you rack up 14 flags against Allen, then you are dead.
Yep.
Straight up. And I think by that same accord, I just the East offense is just there. they come at you with just this barrage, and then you're left in their wake. But there was something to be said, from as McCullough's mentioned, that they have not put together 4 complete quarters of offensive football, and we'll see. Maybe Friday's if there's ever a time Friday.
It has to be for them to win. It has to be the first full game they play.
The margin for error is just so slim, and I'm just not sure I trust Plano East to be able to make just play the error-free football that it takes to be able to, take down Allen, especially in Eagle Stadium with, again, all of the surrounding
paraphernalia.
Yeah. So, give me Allen overall by, let's say, 20. So that is and the picket line was in line on this one. A clean sweep for Allen. They see the Eagles moving to 6-0. Maintaining their stranglehold over Plano ISD. So, hey, Joe McCullough's been pumping that underdog card for 2 weeks. So there you go. There's about 20 minutes worth of underdog fodder for you, Joey. And that will, so that'll be our look at this game. Obviously, we wanted to get the viewpoint from one of these standout players on one of these teams, and for that, I went out to Allen, and I had the chance to chat with their standout defensive lineman, Jayden Jernigan, on the great season that the Allen defense is having, plus the big game Friday against Plano East, and we will see what Jayden had to say after a word from the sponsor.
Let's take a quick break to talk about ATD Painting. Whether it's painting, staining, carpentry, residential, commercial, interior, exterior, if you need it painted, ATD Painting has got you covered. At ATD Painting, their goal is to provide a home improvement experience that is a great value, trouble-free, and enjoyable. And painting is really just kind of scratching the surface as to what these appointments entail. For ATD Painting's interior projects, things like painting, wall repair, ceiling repair, they'll make sure that your floors and furniture are protected and that everything is all cleaned up afterwards. For exterior projects, not only will they do the painting, but they will hand scrape loose paint, reattach loose boards, recalc windows or doors, plus much more. Not only that, if you visit their website right now, atdpainting.com, you can find a coupon for $200 off a complete exterior purchase. Once again, ATD Painting. They've got 4 locations in the Metroplex, including in Plano and Louisville. For more information, call 972-694-8888 or visit atdpainting.com. That is ATD Painting. Check it out to see just how affordable professional painting can be. And now, let's get back to the podcast. We are out here at Allen High School talking with Jayden Jernigan, senior defensive lineman for the Allen Eagles, the reigning Class 6A Division I state champions. Allen prepping for a big game on Friday right here at Eagle Stadium, 7 o'clock against Plano East. First off, Jayden, thank you for taking the time to chat.
Oh, no problem.
So you guys are 5-0. Once again, I believe the 6th straight year that Allen's been 5-0, so plenty of familiarity with this hot start. Just kind of size up the first half of the regular season for the guys and just how you feel that things have went, at least on the defensive side of the ball.
Oh yeah, defensive, we've been doing really good. We're trying to keep our records from last year. Outstanding defensive points allowed. So we're just trying to redo everything we did last year, because why switch up?
Now you guys get an extra week to prep for Plano East. You guys are coming off the bye week. Just kind of recap the previous week for me. Just how do you feel the bye week went and how the guys maximized the time away from all this?
Oh, it was great. We had practice every single day. We made sure that we had everything right. Gave us an extra week. We looked into everything. We had percentages on runs and everything. We're just trying to make sure that we can achieve our goals.
How'd you spend the Friday night off?
Oh, I loved that. I actually went out to Oklahoma State.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, just to take it. Were you there for the weekend to watch the game, or?
Yes, sir. I was there for the weekend to go watch them play at Iowa State.
Okay, far out. So, obviously another strong year for you in the defense, just par for the course. One thing I've noticed, especially in recent years, is that this defense starts the season really fast.
Yeah.
Like sometimes you'll see at the start of the year, you got some positional groups that are kind of going through, trying to find their way, trying to figure out an identity. But with Allen, it feels like you guys are in midseason form by halftime of game one. Just what is it that enables this defense to start each season so fast?
It's our practice. Everybody makes sure that everybody is on key. The coaches don't have to get on us during practice. We make sure on ourselves. So every corner, even if it's a 2 or a 3, everybody betters themselves.
And with you being one of the centerpieces on the defensive line, I'm a unit that just for years has really thrived on just the depth. I feel like Allen rotates this defensive lineman more than just about any team in the state. Just talk a bit about that depth and just how important that is to the defensive line and the defense as a whole, and just their ability to perform the way that they do.
Yeah, we got to. Everybody says when you're in, your 3 plays you're in, go ahead and go 100% effort. We don't want anybody that's maybe a starter that goes 80%. We got a 2 just as good as 100%.
Now, a big game on Friday against Plano East, 5-0 versus 5-0. They're fired up for this game, as I'm sure y'all are. Just what are some impressions on Plano East and just what you see out of them on film?
All my boys over there, Braylon Anderson, he's always good. He's one we have to look out for. Quarterback can still run very well, mobile. The offensive line is pretty good. Who's going against me, 67, he's a returning starter. So we just know that if we play for ourselves and think about ourselves, we should be good.
Now, just talk a bit about your preparation specifically, just week to week. Just how do you, what do you do to prepare for a certain matchup that you have on the opposing offensive line?
I always look at film. I got workouts on Sunday with my personal trainer. We look at the film for at least an hour and a half, and I make sure I know what pass moves I can do, tendencies and heavyweight hands. You just gotta make sure that you gotta study your players.
And now a game that East is very much fired up for. I believe that the headlines are already out there after they beat Prosper, with I guess some folks in their student section, chanting, "We want Allen."
Yeah, we want them. We cool with it.
So when you guys hear something like that, I mean, just how do the players, how does the team react to?
We saw that on Twitter right when we got off the bus against McKinney. We saw it. We were ready for it. We said that's what we want. Another team 5-0, and it's a district team, so we play them every year. We just always, before every game, we look at the last time we lost to them. Last time we lost to anybody, and we want to make sure we're not the team that does it.
And so lastly, before I let you go, I mean, that's a big challenge. 5 teams have tried to slow down that offense at Plano East, and 5 teams have fallen short. So on your end, at least with the Allen defense, what needs to happen on Friday for y'all to do what no one else has been able to do to this point, and slow down Plano East?
We got to match speed with speed. We got to make them want to get outside. So our defensive tackles, me and Seth Mason, all we're trying to do, clog up the middle, make sure they can't run through it. Make them go outside wide so we can just run sideline to sideline.
Awesome, Jayden. Well, hey, that'll just about do it. I appreciate you taking the time to chat. Once again, this is Jayden Jernigan, Allen defensive lineman. The Eagles host Plano East Friday, 7 o'clock, right out here at Eagle Stadium.
Here.
Should be a good one. Jayden, appreciate you taking the time, man. Good luck to you on Friday.
Thank you.
Thanks again to Jayden Jernigan for taking the time to chat for our Student Athlete Spotlight, previewing Plano East versus Allen, our game of the week for Week 7. We got 4 more games, though, on the docket that we're going to chat about, including another battle of the unbeatens out in District 7-5A Division 2. If Plano East Allen was, kind of your 1A as far as, worthy game of the week selections, this one would have been just as strong.
Oh, yeah.
Lovejoy hosting Frisco Reedy.
In my opinion, this should have won game of the week.
Oh, well, here you go. So, both teams are undefeated, and we're gonna have one team in first place by the end of the week. So, Brian, I know you've been champing at the bit to talk a little bit of Reedy. So, just talk about it. What's your initial read on this matchup, and then give your pick.
Lovejoy hasn't played anyone. The level of competition so far in their first 4 games is pretty weak. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. They played Memorial, Lebanon Trail. Who else? Braswell and Heritage.
Yep.
Heritage hasn't won a game. Yep. Reedy, they played the Colony. They played Lake Dallas. They played Denison. Their level of competition is much higher. They've
certainly more
Frisco. They're ready. They're ready for this game, and I don't think Lovejoy. I don't think they are. I think in head coach Chad Cole, he's kind of confused as to which Lovejoy team this is.
No one knows what Lovejoy is.
Because they haven't played anyone. So he doesn't know, are they that good? Or is it just the level of competition that they're playing? So we'll see. This is going to be a great game.
We're going to learn a ton about Lovejoy in the coming weeks.
Biggest bummer, weather-related bummer of the non-district schedule was Lovejoy not getting to play the game.
I thought you were about to say there was rain supposed to be Friday.
No. It was the biggest loss of the.
Let me quickly check.
Right,
because this game is not at the Star; it's at Lovejoy. So.
Yeah,
my heart rate just sped up.
Anyway, definitely the biggest loss of the non-district schedule, not getting to see Lovejoy go to Sulphur Springs. Yeah. Well, technically they went to Sulphur Springs, which is even worse. They drove all the way down there, but did not play. Which is, Sulphur Springs is really good, and that would have been kind of the one litmus test for the Leopards, coming into district play. But I mean, from a vantage point of covering Lovejoy more than I've covered Reedy, I think it's a little bit of column A and a little bit of column B as far as Lovejoy being good and the level of competition. Yeah. I think it's a little bit of both, because I certainly think that Lovejoy is good, and you have to play who's in front of you. They can't help that they had the most backloaded 7-5A Division II schedule of any team, which I think is I think that's fair to say, because they still have to play Reedy, Princeton, Lake Dallas, Denison, and Frisco, which are literally the five teams in playoff contention. So it's it's going to be interesting. Like you said, we're going to learn a lot about who Lovejoy is. But at the same time, that's a very mature veteran football team with a very mature veteran offense. Carson Collins knows how to run that offense. Jahi Rainey is a beast, a very physical downhill runner that goes for 200 yards all the time. I'm not saying that he will against Reedy, but expect him to have a good game and see a lot of touches. So, I went with Reedy in the picket line, but it's tight. I think it'll be interesting. I think that Lovejoy's defense will really have to show up because they haven't seen anybody even close to Reedy and that offensive line and just everything that Reedy brings on offense. And that's kind of the big question mark coming into this season for Lovejoy. You lose Bumper Pool. How does the defense kind of take a collection of good players but not one stand out and put together a good year? But
Coach Cole told me about a middle linebacker that loves to get his nose in the football. He said
he might be talking about Coleman Christensen.
Yeah.
He's become like the de facto leader of that defense for sure. He is the leader of that defense with Bumper Pool gone. But he isn't Bumper Pool, and he'll be the first one to tell you that. When he talks about the defense, he talks about it's a collection of guys that work well together and believe in each other without a Bumper Pool type star to just kind of blow up plays and make big splash plays. So it'll be their first big test of just how good they are, and I think the offense will certainly put up points. I think that they're just a very well-oiled machine. They do what they do very well. But I took Reedy, but I think it'll be a good game. I don't think Reedy, just blows them out.
Go ahead.
No, so I was going to say, the picket line was very much in agreement as a clean sweep for Frisco Reedy over Lovejoy. Let's shift gears to another game. This one, another District 9 6A game. This one out at BW Durham Stadium behind, Reynolds Middle School?
The best stadium in all of 6A.
You don't mean that. Prosper hosting Jesuit, a matchup between two teams that are even in the standings right now at 1-1. Two teams that were expected at the start of the season to be in that playoff conversation, and we'll see. We'll see how Prosper handles bouncing back from its first loss of the season, what Jesuit looks like after a very surprising loss to McKinney Boyd. So, Brian, you cover Prosper. What's your read on this one?
I'm worried about E.J. Smith. He had a big game against Boyd, and if Prosper defense can't hang with Smith, who's Emmitt Smith's son, not Prosper Hall of Famer, Dallas Cowboys Hall of Famer, needs no introduction. If they can slow him down, I think they have a chance.
Mm-hmm. Where'd you lean on this one as far as a winner? Prosper. How about you, Taylor?
I took Prosper as well. Jesuit losing to Boyd scares me. I think Boyd is certainly improving. I think that, as is apparently typical of Boyd, they're kind of picking up steam and playing better as the season goes along. So not an awful loss, but I think that Jesuit defense is poorer than a lot of us even thought it would be. And Jesuit's kind of underperforming compared to what we thought coming into this year. And I think that Prosper is certainly for real at the 6A level. Having seen them now and seen them kind of, play a bunch of 6A teams, seen them play Plano East, even in a loss, I thought that they looked, they held their own. They were competitive. So I think that they handled Jesuit. It'll be a good one, but I had Prosper as well.
I think they have a bad taste in their mouth from that Plano East game.
Yeah.
They had an extra week to get over it and prepare for a Jesuit squad. And like you said, I don't think Jesuit's as good as...
To be fair, that same logic does apply to Jesuit.
Yeah, absolutely.
But they lost to Boyd.
The thing with Boyd is, it was just a matter of just being able to, they could move the ball.
Yep.
I don't want to say it will, but they were, I want to say that through non-district, they were, I want to say, fourth in the district in yards, in total offense, but they were seventh in points per game or something like that. It was just something they just really struggled to turn that yardage in offense, and that could be a bit of an indictment on the Jesuit defense. That's finally the defense that Boyd's offense woke up against.
Well, it's interesting too because there's an interesting wrinkle with Boyd in that I was talking to Plano West head coach Scott Smith, who has Boyd this week, and Boyd was really working with a pretty spread out offense, a real spread look, through the first several weeks and all their losses, and then they went to a very run-heavy, more typical, run package look against Jesuit that obviously worked. But if Jesuit struggled with that, then how are you going to handle Wayne Anderson? You know what I mean? So that's an interesting wrinkle in this one, too.
Very will be the best back in the district when all is said and done. The picket line, let's see. This was actually a 5-1 nod. Prosper gets the nod. Justin Thomas, though, picking Jesuit.
Lone Wolf.
Justin Thomas.
Not a terrible pick. This is one of those ones where it goes 5-1. I could have easily seen it being 3-3. It's going to be a close one.
I got Prosper winning by 9. That was my official prediction, 33-24. Could be closer. Could be further apart.
The
Who
old
knows?
3 field goal score.
Elsewhere in the area, probably the marquee game on the docket in District 6A this week. Hebron, fresh off a crushing, what was it, on a blocked field goal?
The worst beat I've had on the picket line this year. I was the only person to take Hebron, and they get the game winner blocked.
Yeah,
You're up by like 8 games in the picket line. I think you're okay.
16-15 loss to Hebron. The Hawks will try to bounce back against a surging Marcus team. Marcus winners of 4 straight. They are 2-0 in district, fresh off a pretty fun, I should say, come from behind victory over Irving
You were
Nimitz.
there, right?
27-25. I got to see
Nimitz is
that
good,
game.
man.
Nimitz is solid. Nimitz is definitely, I think, we definitely might have undersold how competitive Irving ISD
Yeah.
can be in this. I could see Nimitz working its way into that playoff equation.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, this is about Marcus and Hebron. So my biggest read on this was just simply like Hebron has more ways to beat you. Just straight up they do. Whether it's Carson Harris, Jalen Lott, Trajan Bridges. Marcus is just a little bit too reliant on that ground game. Passing game's making some strides with Gary Nussmeier, but I think if I'm just looking for the team that just can win the game in more ways, I just side with Hebron in this one. So yeah, I think the Hawks right the ship this week against Marcus.
Yeah, I took Hebron as well. It kind of reminds me of the conversation we had about Plano East and Prosper. Plano East just has so many ways to win a football game. They're so good on offense in a lot of different capacities, and have a good defense and all that. Hebron, even with the loss last week, I think that was a great showing against Coppell. I forgive you guys for blowing up my picket line, but it's fine. I took Hebron again this week over Marcus. I think Marcus, like you said, improved, but not quite good enough to get there against Hebron.
It was a clean sweep for Hebron in favor of Marcus. So the entire picket line in unison, we like Hebron to pick up the win Friday against Marcus at the Woodshed. And let's round this out with a look at a rivalry game out in Mesquite, between Mesquite and North Mesquite. Let's see, this game is Friday, 7:30 p.m. out at Mesquite Memorial Stadium. Mesquite leads the all-time series 25-22-1. There's a tie in there someplace.
Somewhere.
Mesquite was involved in the funkiest game of the week.
I don't know what to think about Mesquite anymore. After they beat Horn and then lose 6-4 to Rockwell Heath, my head is just spinning.
It was 4-0 at halftime.
Yeah, my head is just spinning.
That's a baseball score. That's insane.
Yeah, the weirdest score that you will see all season, a 6-4 loss to Rockwell Heath. Meanwhile, North Mesquite got off to an impressive start after its bye week. They made good on that extra time off. They won a shootout over Tyler Lee, 41-34. Tim Cedar's got that squad headed in the right direction. Big game for quarterback Kamari Thompson. He had 5 touchdowns in that win. So on the one hand, I'm trying to assess this game like, wow, look at the job that the North offense did piling up points. But I mean, at the very least, while 6-4 is an oddball score, no matter which way you look at it, it's still an impressive defensive game from Mesquite. So, but nevertheless, that did not seem to matter a whole lot in the picket line. Maybe we're just captivated by offense a bit more than we are defense.
Well, I think the 6-4 score, maybe it's if you want to sugarcoat it as a defensive showdown or whatever. It's who it came against for me. I don't think Rockwell Heath is very good this year, so I had Mesquite to win that game, and it's just a little. It takes me back a little bit that they dropped that one, especially in the way that they did, because that offense looked like it was kind of starting to find its rhythm, and then you go out and lose 6-4. So I think just on the back of the big win over Tyler Lee, which is a good football program, pretty consistently, I went with North Mesquite. But who knows? I don't know picking Mesquite games anymore. Who knows?
What was that previous meeting record between the two?
25-22-1
in favor of Mesquite.
North Mesquite's going to tack on their third win ever against Mesquite.
Oh no, they beat them 22
23rd
times.
win.
Oh, it was the other way around.
Oh yeah, Mesquite leads the series 25-22.
I thought you said 2. Oh, okay.
No.
I was like, wow, Mesquite, jeez, no.
No, I'm in that lopsided. So yeah, whereas last week, we all picked Tyler Lee to beat North Mesquite. This week, I guess it's us drinking
the Kool-Aid again.
Never picking against North Mesquite.
Us being reactionary, if you want to call it
Yeah.
that. But it was a 5-1 nod for North Mesquite over their rivals Mesquite. Justin Thomas, once again the lone wolf on this one. He's taking the ski.
Man, he's all over the lone wolf
He's either
on the
going to take
picket
a
line this
major
week.
hit, or he's gonna jump me and then come for y'all. Well, maybe not you, but come for you and Kendrick.
That's I got that in my crosshairs right there.
Hey.
Still plenty of time. So let's see. All right, so yeah, that is a look at 5 of the biggest games on our coverage docket for the week. It is. It's fun week of high school football. Looking forward to it very much. So, the game I'll be at on Friday is one that did not make the cut, unfortunately, for this top 5, but a game that's definitely got some nice backstory. I'm going to be out at Clark Stadium in Plano to cover Plano Senior hosting McKinney in District 9-6A action. Plano, fresh off the bye week, trying to snap a 2-year losing skid.
to the Lions, who are looking for their first win under head coach Marcus Shavers. Plano definitely not taking it lightly, though, especially after the recent history between these two teams.
Well, and only beating West by 14 points. I mean, I know it's a rivalry game, but Plano's probably looking to make a little bit of a statement, I would think, this week.
We shall see. Yeah, that's my game. As far as you, Taylor, we already alluded to.
Yep.
You got the biggest game of
Plano East Allen.
the week for all of us. You got
See y'all at Eagle Stadium.
Brian, actually, yeah, you're going out of town.
I'm going to be
Lucky
gone.
you.
I'm out of here.
We'll nevertheless have a reporter out covering
Sure.
the Lovejoy Reedy game, as well as Hebron, Marcus, all that good stuff. So nevertheless, we'll be passing along updates throughout our games. Taylor, they can follow you along where at on Twitter?
It's just my name, Taylor Raglin, Raglin.
I am M. Welch, SLM. Brian, you're not going to be tweeting out anything.
They
Unless
can still
updates from-
follow me. I mean, at Brian Murphy _ There's still hit the follow button.
Some vacation photos, perhaps.
Yeah, going out to Boston.
Yeah, I might roll out to Fenway. You know, the AL,
There's a big baseball game
ALCS
this weekend.
Yeah.
So, and then afterwards, once our games are finished, the first spot you can check that stuff out is at starlocalmedia.com. There you can find game stories, our rapid reaction podcasts, video highlights, all the good stuff that encompasses our usual Friday night football coverage. And that will do it for this edition of the Star Local Media High School Sports Podcast. It's Matt Welch with Brian Murphy, Taylor Raglin. I got everybody's names right
There you
this
go.
time. Folks, you enjoy the rest of your week, and we will talk to y'all later.
Thanks for checking out this edition of the Star Local Media High School Sports Podcast, brought to you by Performance Food Group. Performance Food Group delivers more than 150,000 food and related products to customers all across the country. If you want to get in on that process, PFG just might have a spot for you. Their McKinney office is currently hiring. Job openings include Class A CDL drivers and warehouse order selectors, as well as many other entry and part-time positions. An ideal choice for college students or people just wanting to find new careers in general. For more information, you can visit their website at pfgc.com/careers for more job openings. If you prefer to contact them by phone, you can call at 214-491-3130 for more details. Once again, that is Performance Food Group, located in McKinney at 500 Metro Park Drive.